The things that we have in our heart that we think are impossible are often just milestones waiting to get accomplished if you can push those limits. Listen, everything was impossible until someone did it, so you can either hang around people that tell you it can be done or hang around people that inspire possibilities. Welcome to the Path to Unlimited, weekly interviews with entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, those that inspire possibilities. And I'm your host, Julian Marion. Well, today I have a very special guest. He's actually, was actually my college coach, Coach Kelsey. Coach Kelsey, welcome to the Path to Unlimited.
Julian, man, it is an honor and thrill to be on your show. Just knowing you're starting to do this, it's fantastic. So I'm really excited about being part of your show today.
Awesome, thanks, Coach. So you still go by Coach or? You go?
That's the easiest way. That makes it easiest.
Once a coach, always a coach, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Coach Kelsey. Coach Kelsey pretty much has been, coaching for the last 27 years. He has 5 kids. 5 kids. That's by itself. To do anything with 5 kids takes a lot. Takes a whole lot. Coach Kelsey has been coaching basketball, obviously. I don't know if you knew, but I play basketball, so Coach Kelsey was my basketball coach. But he has a lot of accomplishment, in the sports of basketball. He was one of the top, scouts in college when he was scouting. He took, I remember, our program from nothing to being ranked in the nation. So he knows how to see talents, and he knows how to develop programs. But one of the reasons I have him on the show is because his journey and the limitations that really other coaches and people in general put on him after he had health issues was pretty intense. And the way he had to fight through that is really what we're trying to investigate and learn from today. So, Coach Kelsey, welcome again to the Path to Unlimited. And is there anything that I did not say in there? Oh, yeah, I remember now. He is starting a coaching program, right? We can call it a coaching program?
Correct, yes.
Right? It's called Coach's Ally, which is all about helping coaches take their coaching to the next level, because he made a lot of mistakes in coaching, and if he can help new coaches kind of just, avoid the barriers and find a way to market himself better, that's all worth it. So anything else that I missed, Coach?
Oh, that's great. You did a super job.
Awesome. And he also wrote 2 books, by the way.
2 books are getting ready to come out soon, so we're excited about that.
Awesome. All right, Coach. So I know that, whenever you were coaching us before every practice, and now I can kind of understand why, you always had, at the time was a proverb, right, that you were bringing in to kind of like prime us and kind of suggest and change our mindset. So for you, what is like your go-to motivation quote or Bible verse that kind of, just refocuses you, every day?
My go-to quote is, "It's not what you can achieve, it's what you become." And that was from my college coach, legendary Don Meyer. He said that in the spring of my senior year, which was kind of interesting because we had been to the national tournament before. Our team, majority of us all were returning, and we started to feel some pressure. We had lost 3 games in a row after starting the year 18-0, being ranked number 1. So for him to say it's not what you achieve, it's what you become, was very profound at that time for someone at my age at 22, and it just completely stuck with me. And the first Bible verse I ever memorized after I became a Christian, also my senior year, was 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Pray continually, be joyful always, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And those 3 verses, Julian, man, they say a lot.
Yes, they do.
Pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you. I mean, that's a lot of meat right there in a few short things. So those are kind of my go-tos. But I appreciate you asking. I'm always trying to find new motivational things and reading as much as I can to find out, what can either motivate the coaches I'm working with, the kids I'm working with, are my own children.
All right. So what gets you up in the morning now?
What gets me up in the morning? Well, I've got to get my 5-year-old to the bus by 7 o'clock.
That's a good one.
Really, Jules, I think the big thing is trying to help other coaches. And you talked about the company, but as I've learned as I've done this for a couple months, is I've got to expand a little bit, not just include coaches, but also, as we talked before we went on the air, about helping young adults and helping different people in different avenues. The problem with helping coaches is a lot of them don't think they need the help. They don't understand that. So that's a little bit been of a barrier for the last couple months of trying to learn that. So trying to expand and make this where it goes to all different parties. Like the book we have coming out in 2016 is How to Advance in Your Career. Well, first was how to advance in the coaching profession. But again, that's limiting, because really the things we talk about in the book about coaching, it really can be for any profession. Your profession, insurance, banker, whatever it may be. It's how do you advance in the profession.
That's true. And I mean, really, nowadays, there's a lot of coaches, right? You have business coaches, fitness coaches, not necessarily just in athletics, but in general. I feel like there's a lot more coaches out there than there probably was, in the past. So I want to know, are you an early bird or a night owl?
I heard you on your other interview ask that to John Lee Dumas and your other guests, and I thought, wow, I want to be an early bird. Unfortunately, I'm more productive in the morning. Let me just say that I'm more productive early in the morning than I am late at night. My mind starts to shut down. I'm not going to say it as I get older, but I can stay up late, but I'm much better getting up early. And I think anybody is. You starting the day, the more you can get done before noon, the much better off you are as far as getting stuff done that week.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, I keep on, referring to I believe it's the Benjamin Franklin, quote, early to bed, right. Early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I constantly just remind myself of that, every night before I go to bed, just that, hey, if there's a pattern, with successful people in going to bed early, because everybody focuses on, oh, he woke up at 5 a.m. or he wakes up at 5 a.m. But they never ask the question, so what time do you go to bed at? Because, hey, if I go to bed at 1 a.m., yeah, I probably would not want to wake up at 5 every day.
The interesting thing, Julia, and my wife said this the other day, one of the problems with social media is you end up comparing yourself to other people. So, you can't, some of us just aren't, there may be doctors that disagree, but I think it's just hard for us to get up earlier. It's hard for us to stay up late. Like Coach John Gruden gets up every day at 3:17 a.m. I know when he was coaching. Well, some people just can't physically do that. It's just too much. So I think you just need to set a reasonable time, but I really suggest staying with a set time every day, and even on weekends, being careful of sleeping in too early. I've got sleep apnea and narcolepsy, so I've done all the tests, and I know all about all the sleep stuff. So sleep has been something that's been an issue with me health-wise for a long time, but I understand about it. But if I was advising anyone, I'd say, get on a regular schedule. And the other thing you said about coaches is we all need one. We just don't know what area of our life we need that coach. Like for me, at my age, I've done enough lifting and conditioning and working out. Do I really need to get a conditioning or workout coach? I probably have enough knowledge, but, it never hurts to meet one more time. I just signed up for a health club as we moved to Nashville, and they had, one free consultation. When you got there, I thought, okay, I'll sign up and just take advantage of the free consultation, free coaching. And the guy I met with really changed my thinking about my workouts at my age and with my schedule. And he gave me, shorter workouts to do, which you're more likely to do than saying, okay, I know I've got to go work out for an hour today. That's hard, and he gave me some things, 35 minutes a day, 4 days a week, and you can stay in the same kind of shape if you'll do them at this rate of intensity. And it really helped me. But I would have never just gone out and paid for a coach, and it would have been to my detriment.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, a guest that we're having on the show, Coach Michael Burt, actually out of Memphis as well. Said he labels himself a super coach, and he said everybody need a coach in life. So which is so true, right? Because coaches allow you to really see things differently. And I used to believe that a coach, is there to discipline you, but that's not the case. They're there to help you see things that you don't see, help you adjust, yourself slightly. Think of golf, right? Just a, less than an inch adjustment in your swing equals, yards of improvement.
Exactly.
So definitely see the value in one. So, Coach, do you have like a mental checklist that you're doing every day when you wake up?
That's a great question. I've got my daily to-do list, and my fall this year has consisted of really catching up on a lot of past bills, past things with my kids. So I've kind of been Mr. Mom this year, or this fall, because I'm not working full-time. I'm starting a business. My wife has a full-time teaching job, so our roles changed a little bit. So I really had to go through each day, okay, what does this kid need? This kid, I have 3 in college right now, then 2 younger ones, so everybody was kind of a wide range.
Yeah, there's a busy house.
And so, it's making sure kids got their financial aid taken care of, or their schools, health insurance, whatever it may be. So that took a lot of time. So my checklist was really based getting the house in order. Yeah.
That is awesome. And I have 3, so maybe that's for another time, right? To see like how do you manage a family of 5 while starting a business? Because we, manage a family of 3 while starting a business. So 5 is a different level. All right, Coach. So we're switching gears a little bit. So now, we're just going to talk about, limitations, right? So what is your take on, limitations?
Well, we all have them, and we all get them. Some people hand them down to us, and some of us, we just take them on our own. You alluded to, I had cancer in 2000. Then the year after I left the University of Alabama, and I could not get back into the college coaching profession. And this was after being in for, 12 years and maybe longer, but I had some good friends and had good success, but I could not get back in. I tried and tried. And so I went the high school route for about 3 years and still tried to get back in college. And then in 2005, interviewed for 3 different college jobs. And I got the Belhaven job, which ended up being one of my favorite all-time places. I was there for 7 years, but I was very limited in that people either were scared of the cancer or something else. But here's one thing. I've told people this, and it's you have to hear the whole story to understand it. But I almost had it as I went part of the second part of my career. I had really a bad label. If you ask somebody about me and you said, okay, hey, tell me, when I hire Tom Kelsey, tell me what you think about it. They all said, I would say the same thing. Oh, he's a great guy. Oh, he's a good guy, But in coaching, that doesn't tell me anything. If I call and I want to know about you, I'm trying to bring you on my staff, and all somebody can say is he's a good guy. Well, I need someone who can recruit, who can coach defense, can coach post players. But that's what I had become to was I didn't really have a calling card. I no longer had a something that stood out about me. I had developed a reputation at Murray State in Alabama as a really good recruiter and a really good post coach. But since I'd been gone for so long, I'd lost those. And you have to have that calling card. And I was. It's funny because I was coaching someone the other day, and we were talking, and this person said, well, I don't have the right looks, or I don't have the right, the physical part. And I said, let me ask you. I said, now, has he ever told you that? And she said, well, no. I said, well, you're putting those own limitations on yourself. I said, until they tell you you don't have the looks or you're not smart enough, you keep going. And I would tell basketball players all the time, I said, you keep playing until they tell you, hey, we don't have any more spots for you. Because after a kid gets done in college, if you want to play overseas, go try it. Go try to play overseas. Go try to do something. But until they take your shoes up, you keep playing until they tell you no. Until someone says, Julian, you're not the kind of person we need for our business. Well, you can limit yourself by saying, that's too big of a company. I don't think I can approach them. Let that person turn you down. But we do that all the time. And having 4 girls, I see my girls do that constantly. We're all hard on ourselves. I think probably the females are a little bit more difficult, more hard on themselves than guys. But I see my girls and the 2 in college, and just hearing different things, just the words that come out, you think, I try to tell them, no, you can do that. You're fantastic. You're great. One quick example, my daughter, when she was there in Jackson at St. Andrews, she wanted to run for, I may get these mixed up, class president, whatever it was. So we worked on her speech, got her special dressed, all these different things, and she ran for it and lost. And I was just like, hey, Brent, I'm sorry. And, I know it's tough. I'd ran for student body president in college. My dad ran for political office. I said, maybe it's not in our genetics. Well, she came back the next week and she said, well, there's I can run for class president. And I'm thinking, oh, don't do that. Why put yourself through that torture? You just lost one election. Why do it again? But I could have limited her and just said, Brent, I don't think this is best for you. But she wanted to up her resume, her high school resume, and she was driven to make it the best possible resume because she wanted to get in a great school. And here I was, her dad, who usually believed in her, but was trying to say, no, don't do that. You might get hurt too much. And so that's an example of, I was trying to put limitations, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I think we do that as parents. We do that often to our kids because we don't want them to get hurt, but sometimes we don't really know what the true potential is. Like you really do not know. All right, so Coach, can you give us a time where you limited yourself, right? Either through coaching or or something else that you and only you, because you can go back, take 100% responsibility, and say, wow, that was me. That was dumb. That was me. And how did you, find a way to get out of it?
My wife reminds me of this one often. What I did when I couldn't get back in coaching, I went back into high school coaching. Had a great job and a great location, great people, and really good players to work with. But I just could not get out of the funk that I wasn't back in college. And I even said, we were having a reunion of our school at Faulkner where I started out as a college coach. And I told my wife, I said, I really don't want to go. And she's like, why? I said, because I'm just a high school coach. And she said, how can you say that? And I said, well, I just feel like a failure. And she really challenged me that, you have a good job and you're providing for your kids. Nobody there is going to look at you as a failure. But I just could not get over that hump. And it hurt my family, it hurt my career, it hurt me personally because I was just stuck in that bitterness. So I limited, instead of saying, hey, this is a great job, this is where I am, I'm going to make the most out of it. I put it down. And then when I got to Belhaven, and although Belhaven wasn't the best job because I was back in college, I thought I was worthy. I thought I was back to being worthy, even though I wasn't making as much money as I was in the other job. But because I had the college coach stigma, I felt better about myself. And that's really, you can't look at things that way. You cannot worry about what other people are going to think, because really most of the time people aren't worrying about you.
That's right.
That is true. I tell my kids all the time, I said, look, if they're talking about you, what's the maximum time they're going to talk about you? Okay? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Hey, they can't spend all day talking about you. So if they do talk about you, it's going to be for about 5 minutes and they're going on to something else. So
yeah, that is a good one.
You're going to put so much worry into, maybe a group is, discussing you for 5 minutes, and yet you're letting it dominate your thought process. But we all do it. Everybody from the top athletes, the top politicians, top businessmen, whatever the top in their field, everybody has that self-doubt, and it's a matter of how am I going to look and not compare myself to others? I mean, because I think that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I wrote an article about that, which about because I know whenever we started the business, the our dance and fitness studio, it was hard to not want to compare, even with the podcast, right? Not want to compare to, for example, to people like John Lee Dumas, right? And sound, listening to the way his episodes sound now, but so never comparing like your beginning to someone else's middle, because exactly. What you really have to do is like go back to, and that's what I do often, is as much as possible I'll try to go back to someone that I'm looking up to at their beginning. How did they sound, right? Everybody talk about sometimes Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher, the TGIM, thank God it's Monday, and look at his video and high production. But if you were to look back at season 1, it was bad. It was outside. You can hear the wind, So I feel like you said, people put those limitations on what they can and can't do in trying to compare their beginning to someone else's middle. Whereas, hey, your website doesn't have to look amazing right now. If your information is good, you're changing lives, you're helping people. Eventually, you're going to iterate. You're going to improve a little bit, and you will make progress. So I really do enjoy that. So now let's switch to and I know you probably have a couple. So pick one. A time when somebody else kind of limited you, right? I know you have quite a few of them. So pick one of a story.
I think it really is this past year, and that was kind of the impetus of the business. I tried to get. I was director of operations at LSU, and again, a great job. But I wanted to be in the action as director of operations. You're not allowed to coach on the floor. So although I was getting great gear and traveling around the country and getting to watch super coaches, I could not coach on the floor, and that. I told myself I'd do it for 3 years and see what happened. And at the end of 3 years, I couldn't get a job, Julian. I had one offer, and it was a Division II school, but it wasn't in the location my wife and I wanted to be in. And I just could not get a job coaching. And so that really is why I started the business, is to help other coaches, navigate, build up your resume the proper way, find ways to to have a niche. Like I'd lost my niche of what I was. Instead of being a great guy, I needed to be something else. Mm-hmm. So that was the big thing. Was this past year of not being able to get. And my wife would say I was too picky, but just couldn't get back in, and wanted to be on the floor coaching, and nothing opened up. And then I tried everything, and it just didn't happen. And that's kind of when we started this. If I can't do it, I can help other people understand and be able to move up the ladder, move up the profession.
Got you. So, I know, whenever you had a cancer and everything, right, that there was a lot of uncertainty, right, and most likely fear, probably that that came across, for you personally and the family. So give us a time, either that or another one, where you were fearful, right, but went through it anyway, and and what did you learn from it?
Probably one of the best examples I think I can use is when I was a freshman in college. We had some problems at home, and there was some issues, and I dropped out 6 weeks in, had a full scholarship to Lipscomb, playing for Coach Meyer, and I dropped out just because I couldn't handle it. I was probably really too immature, and I needed a year prep school or something, but I was just scared and immature. And I got back home and started working at JCPenney's and started going to a junior college. And it wasn't soon after that I said, man, I made a huge mistake. What am I going to do? I'm scared. I've given up on my college basketball career. What am I going to do? I was practicing with the junior college team, and I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So I re-enrolled at Lipscomb, and I came back. Back then we were on the quarter system. I came back in the spring quarter. Did not get a scholarship back. Did not get a scholarship back that fall. but he finally gave it back to me, that winter of my second freshman year. And that was a really fearful thing. I was scared because I'm thinking, have I messed up? Again, at 18, you're thinking, have I messed up the rest of my life because of this one dumb mistake? But thankfully, it turned out well. But that's a time that I was really, really fearful of, what have I done? I've made this big mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that scholarship go.
Yeah, and I think other times, one, it was, and I don't know if it was fearful or ignorance or just excitement, but I went from head coach at Faulkner to assistant coach at Lipscomb. Then I went to Murray State. So it was my first time ever being at an NCAA school.
Mm-hmm.
Never been at an NCAA school before, never recruited there or anything. So there was a lot of self-doubt. Thankfully, I was with Mark Gottfried, who was coming off as an assistant at UCLA and won a national championship. We were at Murray State. We had a good product. So I had some really good things in my back pocket, but still, man, there was some fear of, can I do it at this level? Can I make it and, coach at this level and recruit at this level? And it took a while, but we had really good success by that. But I think the one of the things was I was very, very skeptical at first. I tried to go as hard as I could and tried to be as energetic as I could. And I was excited, but back in the back of my mind, there was that bit of, am I going to be able to make it and cut it at this level?
The thing with fear is that it is most of the time self-imposed. It is most of the time not real, right? Until you actually see it. I had this story, I can't remember where I heard it, which was a story of this guy. He's walking in and he goes to, by this dog, and he's, this dog is like barking, woo, woo, and he's always like running really fast so the dog doesn't catch him, right? And like that happens like, month after month. And then one time, he's just decided, you know what, like, I'm done, And so he's walked, the dog comes in and gets ready to bite him, and he protects himself with his arm. And then he finds out that the dog didn't have any teeth, right? It was only gum. So he was just getting with his gum. And I think often that's what we have with fear. It's like until like you're afraid of just like talking to an upset customer or talking to, making a sales call or reaching out to someone because you want to interview you, for example, interview them. But until you get it, you're like, man, it wasn't that hard. A great action that Grant Cardone talks about, he said, whenever you're fearful, the amount of time that you let go by increases the fear. So if I'm afraid of doing something, the faster I can do it, the smaller my fear will be. But if I set that thing up and then I let an hour go, 2 hours go, 3 hours go, 4 hours go, now that because of the amount of time in between the action I need to take, the fear has just grown so much, and I'm just like having all those scenarios in my head, in terms of what really is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's Brian Tracy talks about eat the frog every day.
Yes.
Tackle your most important and most probably unenjoyable task first every day.
All right, Coach. So, what would you give someone that is stuck, right? Stuck in limiting themselves or allowing others to limit them? Like, what kind of action plan would you give that person? Like, you're a coach, so what would you tell someone? Do you see like, man, this guy is just limiting?
I would say is get a coach because they're going to keep you accountable. And then I would make a list of, if I was talking with this person, I'd say, let's talk about your limitations. What are your limitations? And let's look at them and let's evaluate them. Okay, so whatever it might be, let's really break these things down so we know what we're working with, because your limitation may be something that once you write it down and look at it on paper, you're like, man, I shouldn't be worrying about that. But it'd be, getting a coach, then writing your limitations down, and then writing down what do you want to see happen in the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. Because if you don't write it down, that's why a written goal is so good. And people say, I can just put it in my phone or something like that. And I think you need to take a pen and paper and write things down. I've got a couple different exercises I take clients with that I'm helping, and they all involve taking a pen and paper because that means action.
Mm-hmm.
And then for you and I think this is important, and we understand this. But I would have a regimented exercise and regimented diet. I think your diet is tremendously important. I think your exercise routine is extremely important. If you binge eat at night, whether it be ice cream or cookies or chips or whatever it may be, because, hey, depression set in. I've had depression, so I understand that, and I think limitations sometimes come from being depressed. Is you're not able to achieve what you think you can achieve. Well, that can easily seep into depression, and if you're not on a regimented schedule, regimented diet, you're gonna fail. So those 4 things: get a coach, write the limitations down, write where you want to be 12, 24, 36 months in advance, and then the 4th thing is have that diet and exercise plan specific for you, not what somebody else does. Somebody else may be further along, someone may be behind. Walking 20 minutes a day may be where you need to start. Cutting out sugar may be where you start. But make it realistic. You can't just go and make drastic changes. Those are always hard, and they most of the time don't work.
Mm-hmm. Or don't last. So, Coach, how did you, whenever you're facing depression, right? How did you get out of that stage?
Probably a lot of those things. If it wasn't a coach, I had specific friends that I can call and talk to. That's a great thing about technology is you can reach them anytime. It's not like leaving a voicemail. But back in the old days, you didn't know when the person was going to call you back. If you left a message on the machine now, you can text them immediately. You can call them immediately. And usually, I have a couple friends, and they know if I call that it's something important. So that was, the really important thing for me. Just continuing to push through and just continue to get up, because it's easy to stay curled up in a ball on your bed. Nobody's watching. I can just stay here all day and nobody will know. But you got to get out and get moving. That's difficult. But one of the darkest times I had, a friend recommended some different books, because I think you have to put the right things in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit there and watch TV and videos all day long, but unless you're reading, your mind is active and your mind is energized by reading. It's hard to get energized by just watching videos. Even if it's a motivational video, I think you need to be reading and exercising your brain that way.
So what book was that? Do you remember the name of the book?
Well, one of them was the John Eldredge book. I can't remember the big famous book that he had, but I never got it because I read it 3 times and never did get it. But I love Max Lucado, anything that he's written. Anybody that's a coach, I recommend a book by Joe Ehrman. I also recommend a book by a good friend of mine named Jeffrey Marks called The Season of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading a book right now called Lead for God's Sake. And it's a really good leadership book. But I think there's, anything that you can, and I think it's important. Here's one thing that I think is also important, is finding just a few simple things. Like, one of my things I want to write next year is, how do you start a business without any experience? Because so many people are starting these, and I think I've learned something over 6 months. I think the most important thing is you find one guru, one person that you're going to follow, because what happens. You get on, you start, as soon as you sign up for a newsletter, you sign up for something, you just get inundated. And get one person, maybe 2 at the max, you can follow and go with their program. Because if you try to do 10 different people's programs, that's really hard.
Yeah.
That's very tough.
It'll be the new shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, now this person says I need to do this with my Facebook ads, and now this person says I need to do this, and we get, if you're aggressive at all, you're getting inundated with emails.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to Brenda Bouchard's conference back in September, And so I try as best I can to stay with his stuff, but I still, you know, or people that he's recommended had on his stage, to try to stay kind of within that lane. If you venture off, and then I read this book or this way of doing this, it's really hard, especially when you're starting out. I think if you've been doing it for a couple of years and you've got some your legs under you a little bit, and have got some money in, but I think when you're starting out, boy, you got to keep it really simple.
Yeah, no, like, we talked about that, pre-interview, right?
Yep.
Life is not complicated. You make it complicated. Business is not complicated, right? But people make it complicated, especially nowadays with email marketing. Like, I remember a mentor of mine, Noah Kagan, whenever I started the business, and I was talking to him about like automation, because that's the new thing with a lot of businesses. He said, hey, like, you should talk and you be the one answering everything from the beginning until like you cannot do it, until you cannot do it anymore, versus how can I scale this? It's not scalable, right? Because it's like the amount of time it takes you and momentum it takes you to get your business where it needs to be. Right? Like, you need to go through that grind of like, you be the one communicating with your customers, your prospect, and I think it was a great advice for any new businesses. It's like, hey, you are the one. Don't get caught with the automate, because at the end of the day, people can feel when something is automated and when something is sent, from you.
Well,
so that's a
coaching,
big one.
and you know that as an athlete is that you were a great shooter, and that was your forte. So you knew that was your thing. If you tried to go and play in the post, that wasn't your area in college. I mean, you knew what you could do, and I think that's the other thing is stay in your lane. We're all only talented, but we can do a few things. You can't try to do 7 or 8 things. You got unless you've got great help and great financial backing, but stick with that one guru, and then stick with a couple things you're going to do. Is it an online course? Is it a book? Whatever it might be, stick with those few things.
All right, Coach. So we getting towards the end of the interview. So I want to ask you, so if you were unlimited, without limits, could not fail, what would you do in the next 7 days?
I would love to go around the country and speak to as many groups as possible, and a lot of it is dealing with what you're talking about, unlimited, is allowing people to believe in themselves, allowing people to understand that they can, reach their dreams. With 3 kids in college right now at 18 and 21 and 23, that's the one thing I keep harping to them is, hey, you can do anything, you can do anything, you can do anything. And that's what I try to do as a coach, was to preach that. But I know I've limited myself through either a lack of confidence, not being good enough, not thinking I'm good enough. I would love to just travel the country, maybe shoot as many YouTube videos as possible, but try to get people to believe in themselves. And one of the points I have in the book, I'm not sure if it got cut out or not, but my thing is, if you give me 30 minutes to an hour, we can find something special about you that nobody else can do. And no matter how low your confidence is, we can find something about you that is amazing. And I'll share this quick story. I was giving a talk last year at a clinic, first time I talked about how to advance in your career. And one of my points was, when you get a coaching resume in athletics, just stick to the coaching parts of your career. If you worked at Walgreens or Chick-fil-A or sold tennis shoes, that's not important to a coach. He wants to know, what can you do as a coach? And so I'm giving this big speech and all this and think it's going well. And this lady comes up afterwards and she starts talking about how she's trying to advance and she can't get a chance and she's doing this. And I said, let me ask you, Tiffany. I said, how old are you? She said, 42. I said, okay. I said, how long have you been coaching? She said, about 6 years. And I said, okay, Tiffany. I said, hold on. I said, something's not adding up here. I said, you've been coaching for 6 years. You're 40. I said, where's the rest of the time? She goes, well, I did this. I was a firefighter in this. I said, what? You did what? She said, well, I was a firefighter. I said, tell me about that. She goes, well, I actually got to be a sergeant in charge of our firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Tiffany, how many people were you in charge of? She said about 100. I said, how many of those were men? She said about 90. I said, you realize that you have something nobody else has? She said, well, you just said don't put different things on your resume. I said, yeah, but I didn't mean if you'd been a firefighter. I said, you realize how many coaches out there need leadership from the position. You're going to try to get an entry-level position, and they need someone who can take leadership because they're used to hiring 23, 24-year-olds that are in charge of study hall, in charge of weight room, and they get run over by the athletes. I said, putting you in charge, that's a tremendous value. I said, you've got to find a way to share your story and articulate it in your resume and in your cover letters, whatever, because that's fascinating. And so that's just to me, that was a great example of sometimes how, we can put limitations, and that's why like a Tiffany that I met with who came to this coaching clinic. And I get that all the time when I go to coaching clinics of guys that want to get in coaching and they want to get in college coaching. What do they do? And try to lay out a plan for them and give them the confidence that, yeah, there's 100 people going for the job, but you got to keep grinding it. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep, edging forward, because somebody's going to get that job and they're going to hire somebody. So you just put yourself in the position to be there as often as you can.
Thank you so much, Coach, for being one of our guide, on this path to unlimited. Now, how can people, get a hold of you?
The best way is email. I'll give an email on the website, is coachkelsey@hotmail.com. That's Coach Kelsey, KELSEY, @hotmail.com. Then the other is our website is called thecoachesally.com. Just the Coaches Ally, one word. Ally is ALLY. And we came up with the term because of the definition of ally is two forces coming together for a common cause without a written form of agreement. So in essence, if I see you in trouble and you're running down the street and you're running not as a jogging pace but at a quick pace, I just go to help you. I don't wait and say, well, I wonder if he's, we got to make an agreement here. It's just two forces coming together, and that's what we kind of want to do as ally, whether it be a parent, as a coach. We're all over as far as trying to be someone's ally. Everybody needs an agent, a promoter, a mentor, and that's what we try to do.
That is awesome. I love that definition. Never heard the definition before, but love it. Well, thank you so much, Coach, and we'll catch you later.
All right. Thank you, Jules. God bless.
You too. Thanks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Coach Tom Kelsey from the Coaches Ally. There's quite a few nuggets that you can implement today, so you can be on your way to the path to unlimited. And again, if you enjoy what you're listening to, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you will be updated on our latest episodes. And also go to tptunlimited.com and join our newsletter as well. Continue to accept compliments from everyone, limitations from no one. Love you guys. Bye.